Uh, 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 Surrender Dorothy! If you've seen the movie, you know what the hell I'm talking about. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way to review a movie that I don't know how the hell, it just recently entered my life. It's existed for, God, what is it now? Well, more or less 40 years, 41 years. A movie that I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with the cover art. I've probably seen the cover art in video stores. A movie by the name of After Hours. And as I said, I'm pretty sure this cover art, the video store cover art, would have been something that I'd seen in the video stores in the 80s and the 90s. But honestly, the cover art, I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, yeah, maybe it doesn't really go with the movie. The guy, the guy's head twisted around on the pocket watch. Like, yeah, I'm not so sure. It's probably a better cover that could be had for this movie, but I'm definitely familiar with the title, familiar with the cover, the poster, whatever the hell it is, but I've never had any interest in seeing the movie. I can't even remember what even prompted me to see it, but it doesn't really matter. I just recently saw it for the very first time online for free, and I saw it 3 times. I watched it once myself, and I'm like, this is so funky and goofy, I'm going to show my mom. I watched it with my mom, and then just last night I showed Beth, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta review this movie. This movie is actually really cool. And it's a Martin Scorsese movie from 1985, I want to say, starring, it's really strange, like, I don't know his name escapes me right now. Oh, goody gosh dang it. Okay, so I can't, okay. So, yeah, I can't review this movie without saying his name in out loud. Griffin Dunne is the star of this movie. The only thing I've really seen him in, but prior to this, I grew up with American Werewolf in London, so I'm familiar with him from that. And then recently I saw and also reviewed the Criterion Blu-ray release of Chilly Scenes of Winter, and he's strangely involved with that movie. He has one appearance, like a cameo, and he's strangely involved, I think, behind the scenes with that movie. And it was funny because that movie's got John Hurt in it, and then this movie's got John Hurt in it, so I don't know if he's friends with John Hurt or whatever, but yeah, this movie I was probably really excited about because he's like the main frickin' star. He's like in probably every goddamn shot, more or less, every dang scene of this movie. Really, really interesting movie. And it's strange how this movie not only has John Hurt, but it's got the other woman, the Kevin McAllister mom and dad in this movie. They 5 years later would go on to be, Kevin McAllister mom and dad. So John Hurt and Kathleen O'Hara are both in this movie, and there's a brief scene where they're seen standing side by side talking. I'm like, there they are, 5 years before Home Alone, the Kevin McAllister parents. But this is a really, really interesting movie, and for the record, I should say that, as far as Martin Scorsese goes, I can take him or leave him. Like, I trudged, was it years ago or maybe months ago, I trudged online, I saw it for free. I trudged through Mean Streets. That kind of movie is just not my thing. Like, I like Taxi Driver, and maybe even aspects of Goodfellas, but like Mean Streets, doesn't interest me at all, and I don't understand why there's any interest or anything for a movie like Mean Streets, but whatever, to each their own. It's strange that I don't like that, but I like Taxi Driver, but I mean, whatever. But Scorsese, I mean, I think as a film connoisseur myself, or a huge movie fanatic, like, admittedly, I mean, he's a talented filmmaker. It's just that a lot of the stuff he makes movies about, like maybe that kind of down and dirty street stuff, like, that's not my thing. I'm like a suburban guy. I'm a country guy. I like farms and farmland and big wide bunches of woods and stuff. I'm not like a fucking New York City kind of enthusiast. There's people that are. I'm not. So Martin Scorsese pretty much is like New York City kind of enthusiast kind of guy or whatever. But it should be said that I was absolutely like. It's really strange. Like I say, I can't. This movie. So as I said, I don't know if I said it already, but I saw it for the first time recently, for free online, and it just popped up on this play. I try not to say the name of this, the company anymore. It's just hell with it. The streaming site. It popped up, and I'm like, oh, okay. I think that's the whole reason I saw it, because I'm like, oh, I remember that cover art, and then I think I watched a trailer like on YouTube or something, and I'm like, wow, this is probably going to be good. Turned it on, and like, so Griffin Dunne plays this frickin' is he a word processor teacher or something? It's so funny because you can see mid-'80s computer technology, and just takes you back to, like, frickin' being in grade school, and how they had they used to have a whole, I don't know if they still got it now, like a room dedicated, I can't remember what the room was called, but a room dedicated to, they just had bunches of computers, and they're grooming us to live the 21st century tech life, us kids in the mid-'80s, grooming us on these computers with the black screen and the green words and letters and numbers and stuff. Like, wow, I remember being a kid in the mid-'80s, and my mom for some reason got into she had like the Apple I, I think, and we actually did get the Apple II, and I asked her, I'm like, why don't we have the Apple I? And Mom said they made me when I got the Apple II, they made me trade in the Apple I, because we had like the first Apple with the disconnected floppy disk drive that was not even a part of the rest of the keyboard and the monitor and stuff. And because she got the Apple IIc, we still got that. Check out my review of Explorers if you want to see the keyboard and the disk drive starting up, because that computer was featured in Explorers. But we've still got the Apple IIc. But I asked Mom, I'm like, what happened to the first one? They made me trade it in. I'm like, how can they make you? Well, it's Apple, even back in the fucking 80s. But for some reason, my mom was like into the computers from the very beginning. So I not only experienced computers in the mid-'80s at school, but also we had one at home and stuff. And I was like, I lived in the trailer park in the late 80s, and I think I was like the only kid in the trailer park who had like an Apple IIc, and all the kids would come over to play Wings of Fury and garbage on Apple IIc and stuff. But what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah, Griffin Dunne is basically, it looks like he teaches people, maybe new employees on the word processor on the computer and stuff, and he just hates his job, and he's looking at just the pile of people walking around with paperwork, and he's just like, oh my God, and gets off work. And this is one of these movies that I love this kind of a movie, and it's amazing to me that such a, like, even in '85, Scorsese was probably considered like an auteur, and probably already had a pretty good rep in the mid-'80s. And it's really strange that such a guy with like his rep or whatever would do a movie like this, and hats off to him, because I commend him for doing it, because it bothers me that the majority of movies that are made are like textbook kind of beginning, middle, and end kind of bullshit, and we have this problem, and we got to find the solution, and we have the payoff at the end or whatever. To me, there should be many, many, many more movies like this that exist, which doesn't follow that beginning, middle, and an end thing so much. It's just like, let's show the day in the life, or in this case, a night in the life of someone, as just several hours of just the chaotic whatever that happens to them. And that's what this movie is. It's just like, it doesn't have a quote-unquote plot. That's one of my big, being a huge movie fanatic and a movie connoisseur, one of my big problems with the majority of movies is that they're all like quote-unquote plot-driven. And it's just like, in my opinion, it's not necessary. We don't need plots. All we need is 90 minutes of something interesting to watch, and that's what this movie is a perfect example of. It's 90 minutes of something something interesting to watch, and to all those people that are like, yeah, I could guess, if they watch other movies, textbook kind of movies, beginning, middle, end movies, yeah, I knew exactly what was coming. Well, of course you do, because the textbook by the number fucking beginning, middle, end movies are all the same. If it's a romantic comedy, somewhere in the last third it's going to get sad before it gets happy again. If it's a kids movie, it's got to, if it's E.T. or Short Circuit or Short Circuit 2, somewhere in the last third it's got to get sad. Johnny Five's got to get completely destroyed and die and be maimed and stuff before he can be shining gold at the end of Short Circuit 2. If it's E.T., E.T.'s got to die, and 30 seconds later he's alive. You got to go low so you can go back up high. It's just that nasty freaking manipulation they do with all those movies. I'll bet anyone watching this movie that from moment to moment, there's no way in hell they're going to be able to guess what's going to happen from moment to moment. And that's what's so fucking awesome about this movie. It's just the day, or as I said, a night in the life of this guy. He just got off of work, a job that he hates. He goes home, flipping through channels, there's nothing to see. He goes to some diner at night, and it's like 11 o'clock at night or 11:30, just to maybe get a cup of coffee and read the book in public. Got a gorgeous Rosanna Arquette. This is probably the youngest I've ever seen Rosanna Arquette, man. Fucking mid 80s. He's probably early to mid 20s, I would imagine, in this movie. Talk about gorgeous. Rosanna Arquette's like, I love that book, and starts a conversation with the main character, Griffin Dunne, and that basically sends his whole night into chaos. And I'm not going to obviously do a beat by beat. I want to try to not have this review be too incredibly long, but I'll just simply say that, who would ever thought that just being out in public and reading this book and having this hot Rosanna Arquette character comment on the book could ever lead to a night of basically just all night mayhem. And maybe that'll be my review. You've got Terry Garr in this movie. You've got, as I said, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara, Dick Miller, of course, even though it's not a Joe Dante movie. Dick Miller makes a brief appearance. I love how Dick Miller is in like every other movie that came out in the 80s. I love that. Another Dick Miller. How many movies is Dick Miller in? That'd be really interesting to know. But you've got, not that I'm a fan, but you've got Cheech and Chong if you're into them. And I think that's all I'll say to keep the review on the shorter side is it's absolutely delightful. As I said, to those people who know, who watch the majority of normal movies, and they know, like, oh, it's so predictable. I bet you're not going to be able to predict moment to moment on this movie what's going to happen, and that's what's so amazing about it. And having seen it now for the third time last night, it's like it's strangely, even though, arguably it's probably the best the first time you watch it, but even on repeat viewings, it's still fun to watch, even though you know what's going to happen. And it's one of those movies that gets so tangled up in itself that it's hard to understand, or it's hard to keep track. It's so tangled up where it's interesting to watch multiple times because, you can kind of scrutinize it maybe a little more on multiple viewings to get through the tangledness of it or whatever. But this is a movie that I would highly recommend. Turns out Criterion did put it out on Blu-ray and 4K. I think the Blu-ray might be like out of print, but the 4K with the Blu-ray is still in print. So possibly very possible that come July, the 50% off sale, I'll probably snag either the Blu-ray or the 4K that includes the Blu-ray, because it looks like there's possible like Scorsese and Griffin Dunne commentary, which would be interesting. There might be a little making of documentary, which would be interesting. This one I'm really like, if it's a Scorsese Griffin Dunne commentary, I'm very interested in that, just to hear them talking about the movie. But it's right up my alley. It's my kind of quirkiness. It's my kind of like British kind of dry humor. When I first saw it, I was absolutely delighted. I was like, wow. And I knew pretty much like 15 minutes in, maybe 10 or 15 minutes in, that this movie, I was going to love this movie. Just with like the interaction with Rosanna Arquette and Griffin Dunne at the very beginning, at the diner, and the waiter who's about ballet, student or whatever the hell he is. The quirkiness of the story, the quirkiness of the characters. I just absolutely love it. My only complaint, my only criticism is how it just grinds to a dead stop right at the end of the movie when he's dancing with that woman in the club. It's like, why right before the credits roll, the end credits roll, are we just grinding to a halt? But I guess the writer just wanted to do that. The whole movie's mayhem. It led up to this breaking point. So I guess the writer just wanted to stop, have like this slow dance, whatever, which turned into a little more mayhem before it ends. And God, so my only criticism is like, I've seen it 3 times now, and I'm not too sure about, every time it just halts to a stop, I just don't know if that feels right, but that's just me. I contemplated letting that, if it was going to ruin the starage, hell with it. I've seen it 3 times. This is, for me, it's a 4-star out of 4-star movie. I'm not going to let that little detail at the end ruined my 4 stars. I was thinking 3 3/4 stars. Fuck it. This is so good. The majority of this movie is so good. So the characters are so quirky. Like, oh my! I love movies with quirky characters. Just like random, like Catherine O'Hara. Like, you know, Griffin Dunne's trying to dial the phone. He, you know, get a telephone number from whatever it is, the operator or whatever. Then he's got to try to remember it and dial it, and when he's dialing it, like Catherine O'Hara is just saying random numbers just to confuse him. And it's just like, it's the movie is like 90 minutes of nonsense. Just like absolutely delightful nonsense and characters. And of course, you know, Rosanna Arquette's hot. Of course, unfortunately, you don't get to see her topless. Well, she's topless, but her arm's in the way. If you're a fan of that chick who'd go on to be in What, Men in Black and Gotcha and stuff, I can't remember her name. Is it Linda Fondarnio? It's something. If you want to see her topless, you can see her topless. Nothing to write home about. She's in this movie with her mid-'80s hair. I'm just trying to think of, yeah, Terry Garr, as I said, John Hurd, and Catherine O'Hara. I mean, it's an absolute delight. That's all I can say about After Hours. And being a fan of classical music, I love how it begins with classical music, and you know, this classical music is it not maybe not so much throughout, but it, like the opening credit music's classical. I think the closing credit music's classical. You know, you've got some of the Scorsese, you know, aggressive camera moves. Not a whole lot, you know, just saves them for when they matter or whatever. Just pushed into Rosanna Arquette's face as she winks and goes away to take a shower or whatever. And just, you know, some of the Scorsese camera work is in here. I appreciate. And yes, Scorsese cameo. He's in the punk rock Mohawk nightclub thing on the up above with the spotlight. Got a Scorsese cameo. Highly recommended. I'll probably pick up the Blu-ray in July, I would imagine. And I don't necessarily, I mean, time will tell whether or not I do a review of the Blu-ray or whatever. But if you like quirky ass freaking comedy, and it was good to see, like, I don't think I'd seen Griffin Dunne as the lead in anything. It was good to see him as the lead, because I think that I've always, ever since I was a kid and I saw him in American Werewolf in London, I'm like, you know, Griffin Dunne is actually really a kind of an interesting actor, and I really just like him, and you know, and everything. Of course, I think I'd only seen him in American Werewolf in London and Chilly Scenes of Winter and now this, but like everything I'd seen him in, I like him as a performer. He just seems like, I don't know if he is a nice guy, it just seems like he comes across as just like a decent kind of nice guy you'd just like to have as a friend or whatever. So I don't know if he's really nice or if he's an asshole or what, but yeah, I guess that does it for my review. 4 stars out of 4 stars. After Hours. The ending is, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's the perfect ending for this movie. Like, yeah, so, gosh, all I can say is it's too bad we didn't, you know, maybe Rosanna Arquette topless would have made this even better, but oh well. She's like mostly naked, her arms just like, you know, we see her dead corpse, mostly naked, her arms just in the way of her bosoms. But I guess that pretty much does it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.